BRC20 tokens are a direct result of the Ordinals Protocol, which gave us NFTs on Bitcoin. These BRT20s are actually native tokens, similar to ERC20 tokens on Ethereum, but with a few differences. Bitcoin doesn't have DeFi, doesn't have smart contracts. So the fact that these tokens exist are a surprise to most and even considered a threat by some who view Bitcoin strictly as a payment network. Why do we need BRC20 tokens? What are the trade offs to having native assets on Bitcoin? Crypto is full of pros and cons and risks and trade offs. With BRC20s, there's plenty of all that. And that's what this video is going to be about. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for clicking. This will be a Bitcoin video, a Bitcoin shitcoin video, actually. And by shitcoins, I mean BRC20 tokens, which are being traded by the hundreds of millions, despite lack of marketplaces, lack of tooling, and complete lack of utility currently. So this is amazing. How did we get here? We'll definitely get into that. Most of my audience are Cosmos ecosystem people. They already know the spiel that I'm about to give all the first timers who clicked on my video. So if you are coming for the first time, be aware that as smart as I may seem, I am not a financial advisor. This video is not a recommendation to buy any of these BRC20 tokens, just an educational video. I like doing Bitcoin videos from time to time. And as far as risk of this token class, it's probably the riskiest I've ever seen and the hardest to actually value. So be careful, do research, don't run out and dump all your money into these tokens just because you watched this video. I don't even own any, but I do own some inscriptions and I've done videos on inscriptions. So if you want to learn how we got here, down below will be the links. Also would appreciate any new subscribers. So if you like this sort of informational content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and set alerts. You'll get my content roughly twice a week. And yeah, I span multiple ecosystems, focus on informational videos. If you're that kind of person, I think you'll enjoy them. As far as ordinal inscriptions, like I said, I've done some videos that are complete and I've linked them down below, but I could give a TLDR for the people that need to be brought up to speed. Ordinal inscriptions are basically numbered Satoshis on the Bitcoin blockchain. A Satoshi, you should know this if you're watching DeFi videos, is a single unit of a Bitcoin. Think of it as a penny, where a Bitcoin is like a, I don't know, $1 million bill. A penny would be a Satoshi, and this is the smallest unit you could actually have of a Bitcoin. When they are inscribed, they're given a unique number and some data attached to them. This makes them unique and discernible from other Satoshis, meaning they are non-fungible. Hence the correlation or the comparison to Ethereum NFTs. Several million of these Satoshis have been inscribed, and I do have a couple that have been inscribed with, you guessed it, monkey pictures or Ethereum NFTs. BRC20s are a bit different than inscriptions. Yes, they do involve data being attached to Satoshis. The data is what makes the network fees increase. For over a year, the fees were a nice, 50 cents, dollar, sometimes even less. Recently, we've seen fees $20, $30, even higher. And I'm at the BRC20.io site where you could look at the volume. 24 hours, over $200 million in volume. This is really, really crazy since we don't even really have smart contracts or DeFi on Bitcoin. The total market cap, $500 million. And this is just a snapshot right now. I'm not sure if it went above this and has come back down. But yeah, you could look through. These are all the different names of the BRC20s. Ordi is the number one by far with $340 million in market cap, almost $200 million in volume. I mean, if this was trading on its own chain, this would be one of the top traded cryptos, I would guess, of the last 24 hours. But yeah, these are all the tokens that people have decided to just create, test out this new tech. There are thousands of them. And some people are not happy, which we'll get into later. People that know me know that I'm a huge Bitcoin bull, so I'm going to be quite biased here. I'm a glass half full kind of guy when it comes to Bitcoin, a glass half empty kind of guy when it comes to DeFi, proof of stake specifically. But here's a tweet that I put out today. It says Bitcoin is following a similar innovation arc to Ethereum, and I definitely believe that. I think this is, really similar to CryptoKitties, which, if you remember, back in 2017 caused all kinds of congestion to the network. The blockchain actually went down, all because people were trading and breeding these cat NFTs, which I thought was ridiculous at the time. Well, haha, the joke was on me because that period in time really stretched out the network and later led to, maybe not directly, but NFTs, DeFi, ETH 2.0, right? You could go back to when CryptoKitties was a thing, and people were imagining the Ethereum network being used for a lot more than just simple smart contracts and tokens. And I think that's what we have here with Bitcoin. I don't know if it'll be an identical pathway, but I definitely see some parallels. I think this is a stress test. I think the problems are going to be very short lived because development does happen really, really quickly. And I think we'll see this draw attention to the fact that Bitcoin does need a lot more built out in order to handle these, I would call them enhancements. I don't think everyone would think of, a $25 network fee to send 50 bucks in enhancement, but yeah, we'll get into the drawbacks in a minute. Here's an article that I found earlier today. Just looking at the pros and cons of ordinals in general, I think this is definitely worth a read. I'll put it down in the description. You could check it out for yourself. And of course, if anyone finds any other useful resources, put them in the comments. I'll definitely put them in the description. I respond to all my comments on all my videos. If you think I got something wrong, feel free to point it out. I'll make sure that I correct it or at least include it into the next video. Actually, later this week, I'll be hosting with my partner in crime, Maria, on our Twitter space, a speaking panel where we'll talk about pros, cons, maybe dispel some myths surrounding BRC20 tokens, ordinal inscriptions, and just other Bitcoin developments as well. So that'll be linked. Let's get into some of the drawbacks, or at least some of the criticisms of what's been happening lately on Bitcoin. All right. Well, number one, I already mentioned that the fees have shot up lately. This is not ideal for payments, especially small transactions. Even setting up Lightning Network channels gets really expensive during these high traffic times on the network. If you're rooting for El Salvador to implement Bitcoin as a payment solution, alternate currency to compete with the U.S. dollar in that country, this is a drawback for them for sure. Um, Again, network congestion means that certain transactions are not going to be put through in the block that the sender is hoping they get put through within. I know that recently there were over 400,000 transactions just waiting to go through because of this congestion as people happily trade their Bitcoin shitcoins and ordinal inscriptions, which, like I mentioned, really not much utility there, just as far maybe collectors' items in the eyes of some people, maybe historic down the road. We don't know. It's pure speculation and just kind of experimentation at this point. Uh, Third thing, I've seen people say that this is a possible attack vector for Bitcoin that didn't previously exist. I'm not the person to comment on this, but maybe something to keep on the back burner as we see more and more of this go on. Maybe this will be a possible attack vector. Maybe this is just a myth that needs to be dispelled. Don't know yet. Number four, which I think is significant here, is the apparent lack of tooling that's exposed. Yes, tooling is going to be built around this, but um, not many marketplaces, not many wallets can handle this. There are some wallets popping up for inscriptions that are pretty easy to use finally, but yeah, lack of tooling. Lightning Network doesn't seem to be viable right now during these high traffic times. Like I mentioned, it's costly to set up the channels. I use Strike, and it's custodial for Lightning Network payments. So yeah, I could send one Satoshi for free, right? It's pretty convenient during normal times. But yeah, people are going to have to wait for more functionality to be built around, what's coming out of this Ordinals protocol that was deployed in January. And then finally, there are no smart contracts on Bitcoin. This is not like Ethereum where tokens are usually associated with a protocol or at least some purpose, unless they're just straight up meme coins. No smart contracts, no DeFi. These are just tokens and they're being traded on Bitcoin, causing some of the drawbacks or all the drawbacks that I just mentioned. So I personally think these are super risky. No idea if these are still going to be around in a month, 2 months, 6 months. Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracts. There's no capability right now to have DeFi. So these are just tokens that people invented. They're being traded. There will be people that get burned on these, unfortunately, but that's how crypto has been traditionally. When there's not much information or when there's a craze, people dive in, and people dive in and they get hurt. So, like I said in the beginning, be careful. I don't own any of these. Maybe I'll dabble. Maybe I won't. I want to learn more before I take the plunge. Now let's look at some of the pros that I see. First pro, clearly a pro, is that block rewards were actually less than the actual fees collected due to this trading of Satoshis that have data associated with them. This is good news for the miners. This means that there's definite hope that when the block rewards diminish, right? Block rewards in proof of stake terms would be the emissions, the inflation. The fees collected have to replace this. Otherwise, there's not going to be much incentive for miners to do what they do. So, this is definitely a positive. It shows that Bitcoin could be very sustainable in the near future because of the developments surrounding ordinals. Um, and security. We now have native assets on what is the most secure chain in crypto. Bitcoin is proof of work. Ethereum recently switched to proof of stake. I'm not really sure how governance is going to play out on Ethereum. I don't think it's a good thing for Ethereum that they went proof of stake. I thought proof of work was always the more secure option, and you want decentralized finance to be very, very, very secure. This means that if these different, let's call them experimentations, turn out to be precursors to DeFi, well, they're on Bitcoin. It's the most secure network. Security is the most important thing. Third, multiple economies are forming here. There's more demand for Bitcoin block space. That's number one. There's clear demand for inscriptions. There are millions of inscriptions that have already been sold. Definite demand there. And now there's demand for BRC20 tokens, even without functionality, without utility. And the reason for that is going to bring me to number 4 on my list. Communities are not forming, they've already formed, right? There are already communities around these tokens. Doesn't even matter if they're memes, doesn't even matter if they have no utility, no roadmap. Like, who cares about the roadmap? We've seen the power of memes and the power of community in crypto. That is enough to drive tokens sometimes into the top 10 in market cap on if you look on CoinGecko, right? We've seen Dogecoin, we've seen Shiba Inu. I'm not saying these are good things, but they do drive narrative, which definitely drives price in the absence of utility and um, let's call it more traditional demand for tokens. So there you go, right? Fees collected increasing, security, Bitcoin is number one, multiple economies forming, and then, of course, communities already formed and continuing to develop. Like I said, I'm a glass half full kind of guy when it comes to Bitcoin. I think that the entire market rests on whether or not Bitcoin gains adoption and money, institutional money flows in to Bitcoin first before then it could make its way into the smaller market cap DeFi ecosystems like, Ethereum, like, well, I'm in Cosmos, right? So I'm rooting for that. Controversial? Yes, and I get that people see Bitcoin as a payment network. I see Bitcoin as an all-purpose network that happens to be the most secure of its kind. I don't see Bitcoin as money. So maybe that's why I think the controversies will die out way before BRC20 tokens die out. I think this is ultra significant for Bitcoin because we might be seeing the incubation of DeFi, like I said, on the most secure blockchain. And here's my tweet, right? Market cap is important. Volume is very important. And we're seeing here, and look, I'm missing a zero, but $200 million in volume on these tokens that almost nobody knows about, right? This could easily be $1 billion next week or the week after. I don't know. But what I do think is people need to zoom out, see how developments have traditionally happened in crypto. Something that's seen as, a disaster might end up being a strength later on, right? We see bridges get hacked all the time. We will have more secure bridges that are bulletproof in the future. That's one of the reasons why I'm in Cosmos, because we already do have that in IBC. But yeah, I think the people that are up in arms are short-sighted right now. Maybe there are some concerns that need to seriously get addressed before BRC20's ordinal inscriptions gain real adoption. Um, don't know, but we'll definitely see. This is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be around. Like I said before, appreciate any likes, any new subscribers. If you've liked the content, all the pertinent links are down below. And of course, leave me comments, leave me questions, leave me criticisms. Because, like I said, educational video, I don't know everything. I'm learning along with you. Hopefully, you like this one.